Whenever you're ready, Mr. Lab.
Michael Camarano, Camerano.
Where do you live, sir?
292 Mechanic Street in Canton.
So,
18 years.
That residence you live at, who, if anyone, do you live there with?
My wife, 2 children.
And what's your wife's name?
Katherine,
How old are your children?
16,
The 16-year-old, is that boy or girl?
girl,
Your child, is that a boy or girl?
boy,
Now, your wife, how long have you been married?
25 years.
Do you work, sir?
Yes.
What is it that you do for work?
Labor's union.
Does your wife work as well?
Correct.
And what does she do?
She's a nurse.
If I could turn your attention to January 28th, 2022. Do you recall that date, sir?
Yes.
Were you working that day?
Yes.
Do you recall what day of the week that was?
Friday.
Following work, what did you do after work?
I went home, did some stuff with the kids.
And during the time that you were home, who, if anyone, did you speak with either via phone, text?
I was talking to John O'Keefe.
With regard to John, how did you know John?
I met John 7 years ago.
How was it that you met?
We met through mutual friends, and our kids became very friendly.
Mutual friends through whom you met, who were they?
The Robertses.
What are their first names?
Curt, Carrie.
Starting with Curt Roberts. How do you know Curt Roberts?
I grew up with Curt.
Where did the two of you grow up?
Milton.
So you've known Curt Roberts most of your life, is that correct?
Correct.
You mentioned that, so you have 2 children. How many children did Mr. O'Keefe have?
2.
Those 2 children, as far as their ages, genders, what were they in relation to your 2 children?
Same.
So 16-year-old girl,
13-year-old son. Yes.
were each of your 2 children friends with Mr. O'Keefe's niece and nephew?
Correct.
Now, as far as friends are concerned, starting with your children and Mr. O'Keefe's niece and nephew, how close friends?
My daughter was extremely close.
Extremely close with
Kaylee.
niece Kaylee. With reference to your son, what was sort of the nature of their relationship?
They were close also.
As far as activities, what any sort of activities did your kids do with
Patrick and Michael played baseball together. Kaylee and Madeline played basketball, soccer also.
John O'Keefe? How would you describe your relationship with John?
We were close. We did a lot of stuff together. Pick up the kids, drop the kids off. We coordinated a lot of stuff together. Friends.
Your residence versus you're familiar with where Mr. O'Keefe lived? Correct?
Yes.
Where did he live?
Meadows Ave.
And how far away is Meadows Ave from where you live?
5 minutes.
With regard to, by that I mean your daughter, John O'Keefe's niece Kaylee, what if anything was going on with them on that particular day?
Yeah, both received acceptance letters to go to school.
And which school was that?
Bishop Fan?
The private school?
Yes.
So at the time of this, in January 28, 2022, what grade was your daughter and Kaylee Purvis?
8th grade.
So this would have been going into 9th grade or high school, is that right?
Correct.
What, if any, conversation did you have with Mr. O'Keefe in reference to that at some point in the afternoon?
We were both excited. They both received acceptance letters. We wanted to get the kids together.
I'm directing your attention because with that, it's been a couple of minutes.
So I'm going to instruct the jury on this. These are text messages, right? All right, so folks, before you consider any electronic communications in your deliberations, you must first find that it's more likely true than not that the person who authored or sent these messages is this witness or John O'Keefe. If you do not find that it's more likely true than not that the messages were sent or authored by Mr. Camarano or Mr. O'Keefe, then you may not consider the electronic communication in deciding this case.
Camerano, do you recognize what's depicted on that page that I just showed you?
Yes.
And what do you recognize it to be?
Text messages.
Messages that you had back and forth with Mr. O'Keefe on that date of January 28th?
Correct.
Your attention back to page 187 of that document. Do you see anything in there listing participants in text communication or conversation?
Yes.
As far as who are listed as the participants in that conversation that comes following the next day?
My wife.
Your wife.
John.
Your wife, John, and is your number there as well?
Correct.
So essentially that's conversation between yourself, your wife, Katherine, and John O'Keefe, correct?
Correct.
Beyond your memory of that, as far as the numbers that are associated with those names, do you recognize any of those numbers as being yours, your wife's, and
No, there's just 3 numbers there.
So if I could ask you to flip the page to the next one, 188. And Your Honor, with court's permission, name is going to publish this to the jury as well.
Yes.
Go to page 188. Sir, what's up on the screen right now is that what you have before you as 188 of exhibits, I believe it's 48.
Yes. Correct.
Okay. As far as from these conversations, there are blue bubbles, is that correct?
Correct.
And if you can tell from the content or from anything else on pages for you, who's communicating anything?
Katie, my wife. Oh, no, I'm communicating. Sorry. Excuse me.
So there's a from and to, is that
Yes.
correct?
Correct.
And so the sender would be in the from, is that your understanding?
Yes.
So this first one on top of page 188, this is from you, is that correct?
Correct.
What, if anything, did you say in this conversation?
Congrats. This is great news.
What, if anything, are you referring to by that?
Kaylee getting her acceptance letter.
The next bubble, who is that from? What does it say?
It's from me. Yes, we did.
Again, from this bubble, who is this from?
It's from John. Same news, I hope.
Is that still in reference to a news regarding team?
Correct.
And so the next bubble, who is it from? And what does it say?
From me. Yes.
The next green bubble, what, if anything, is that
From John. Sweet. Congrats. Madeline.
That's your thing?
Correct.
You could continue to scroll down. Again, the next bubble, who's it from? What does it say?
It's from my wife. I'm so excited for these girls. Madeline doesn't know yet.
If you could. And the next bubble, who's it from? And what does it say?
From JJ. I told Kaylee already, so I'm sure she's texted her by now. Poor kid is probably a nervous wreck. I know. It's from my wife. Okay. From me. I'm sure she's freaking out. From John, no doubt.
On this particular day, January 28th, where was your wife at?
She was at home.
And at some point, did she go to work on the 28th?
Correct.
What is her typical work schedule with reference to, at that time, what was her sort of typical work schedule with reference to the weekends?
She worked weekend nights.
As far as your typical schedule on Friday evenings, what, if anything, was it that you would typically do?
Friday, I would be with the kids. I would get them ready for stuff for the weekend, take care of all the activity that we have.
And then in reference to that, as far as the weekends were concerned, Friday evenings in particular, what, if any, sort of usual thing would you do with reference to Mr. O'Keefe?
I would usually go over the O'Keefe's house every Friday.
With your children, is that correct?
Correct. With at least one of them, if not both of them.
With your son hanging out with Patrick or your daughter hanging out with Kaylee, typically on Friday, correct?
Correct.
With reference to what you have before you as 156 of this exhibit, again, towards the bottom, is there an indication as to a conversation starting on the next page as far as who, if anyone, participants are?
What are you asking?
Yes.
Myself, John?
Yes. There's no objection, Mr. Jackson.
And so, Mr. Camerano, again, what's up on the screen, is that what you have?
Correct.
You can look at either, whether it's a book in front of you or you can see the screen. Either. But with reference to what's up on the screen, that first bubble, if you could indicate to the jury again who it's from, what it's
It's from JJ. Howdy, Curt, too, by the way. I don't know.
with reference, Mr. If you could scroll down. And next bubble again, directing your attention to Cameron on 157. Before you, is that what's up on the screen now?
Yes.
Who's it from and what?
From JJ. You guys around tonight.
So I'm just going to scroll down. And with that next blue bubble,
Kate is working. I'm around. Madeline Michael is going to the Luce to play with a friend. The Luce is an elementary school. There's a park down there. Activities for kids.
and if you could scroll down to the next bubble. And again, who's it from and what does it say, sir?
From JJ. Okay. At the driveway with her now. I'll text on my way back.
And if you could scroll down to the next bubble. And again, who's it from and what does it say?
From me to JJ. Everything okay from JJ. Yes, stupid shit.
The next one, that green one again, who was it from? What does it say?
From Johnny. Just told Dr. Jin that they both got into fiend.
Green bubble, who was it from? What does it say, sir?
From Johnny. Want to drop Madeline off, hit the hillside for a bit.
What is the hillside, sir?
It's a pub.
And where's it located? And blue bubble on screen, who's that from? What does it say?
From me to Johnny. I probably won't get to your house till 5:30.
Again, that green bubble, who's it from? What does it say?
From Johnny. Okay. From me. I am leaving in 10. Johnny. Okay. Yes. From JJ. Okay.
Mr. Camerano, with regard to your statement in the text as far as leaving now, where were you leaving, going to?
Leaving my house, going to John's house.
Who, if anyone, was going with you at that time?
My daughter.
If you know approximately what time did you arrive at Mr. O'Keefe's house?
I don't.
Through your friendship with Mr. O'Keefe, did you become familiar with the person Karen Read?
Yes.
How did you become familiar with her? Who, if anyone, was she to Mr. O'Keefe?
John introduced me to her. She was John's girlfriend.
Just to be clear, do you see Ms. Read in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Could you just identify as where she's seated or an article clothing that she's wearing?
She's right there.
With regard to Ms. Read, prior to that date of January 28, 2022, how long had you known Ms. Read?
A year?
Do you recall approximately when you met her?
No.
As far as you were aware, where Mr. O'Keefe lived, did Ms. Read live there as well?
Yeah, it's not full time.
So she had a house of her own as far as you...
Correct.
About how often on a given week would you see Mr. O'Keefe?
A couple times.
About how often would you see Ms. Read?
I would see her also.
Now, as far as your relationship with Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Read, would there be occasions where you would see Mr. O'Keefe without Ms. Read?
Correct. Yes.
Would there be any occasion where you would see Ms. Read without Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes.
Where would that be?
At the house. Maybe at Fields.
With reference to their relationship, what if any conversation that you have with Mr. O'Keefe in regard to his relationship with Ms. Read? Objection.
Sustain. We need a time frame.
In the time period around, say, the weeks leading up to January 28, 2022, what if any conversations you recall having with Mr. O'Keefe in regard to his relationship with Ms. Read?
Just regular guy conversations.
Anything specific that you can
No.
When you arrived at the house, or typically when you would come over to Mr. O'Keefe's house, where is it that you would park?
In the driveway. To the right.
Is that what you did on this particular day?
Yes.
When you arrived at the house, where did you go?
Into the house.
Have yourself, your daughter?
Yes.
When you got in there, who, if anyone, was at the house at that time?
Kaylee and John.
What is it that you did, or what is it that occurred while you were in the house?
Excuse me? We were just congratulating the girls. Talking about how good it's going to be, different school. Just really excited for the girls.
At some point, did Mr. O'Keefe make plans to leave the house?
Yes.
Where did you go?
We went down to Happy's.
And that's the upper park?
Correct.
Where is that?
It's in Canton.
How far away from Mr. O'Keefe's house is that?
5-10 minutes.
Is that somewhere that you're familiar with, you've been before?
Not frequently, no.
With regard to, you know approximately what time you left Mr. O'Keefe's house and went to see a party?
I don't.
Where were the girls when the two of you went to see a party?
They were in the house.
At the time that you left there and went to see a party, with anyone else, was there any plans as far as meeting anybody else there?
It's supposed to meet Karen.
Prior to leaving the house, what, if anything, did you or Mr. O'Keefe do with reference to the vehicles that were in the driveway?
When we were leaving the house, I was parked in the driveway. John was parked on the left side of the driveway. John asked me if I backed up so John could move his car out of the way so Karen could pull her car into the garage because of the snowstorm.
As far as the snowstorm was concerned, what, if anything, did you know at that point in regard to that?
We were supposed to get a lot of snow.
I'm sorry, if you could pause a little bit. And what do you recognize that?
Myself, my daughter.
Mr. Camerano, using that laser pointer that you now have with you, if you could direct the jury's attention to where in this video you observed yourself in the car. There are two vehicles in this frame, is that correct?
Yes.
And if you could use the laser pointer to describe the jury, whose car is who and where?
The white car is mine. The SUV is John's.
As far as the ring system that Mr. O'Keefe had at his house at this time, what did the two of you do with reference to picking up or dropping off kids in the ring video?
Yes, he had a camera, so I'd always wave. I always knew that he was like watching.
And do you know how he was watching if he wasn't home?
Yes, on his phone?
Would that be a running joke between the two of you?
Yes.
O'Keefe's house have been there plenty of times, correct?
Yes.
Okay. With reference to where you and your daughter exited on the screen, what if any sort of entrances to the home are located in that area?
2 garage doors.
Are you familiar with that garage area?
Yes.
Is that typically how you would enter the house?
Yes.
With regard to the condition of the garage, was Mr. O'Keefe particular about that?
Yes. He always kept things very tight. He was like OCD.
So as far as garage doors, as far as what I mean by garage doors is electronic up
So
and
there's
down.
2 garage doors. They go up and down. There's a door.
Then as far as the right door,
It was empty.
once beyond those sort of bay doors that go up and down, what if any other entrance way into the garage was?
There's a side door.
And if you recall, when you were entering at that time on 28 with your daughter, how did you enter it?
We went to the garage door, electric door.
What if anything was fixed to those garage doors as far as security was
A
concerned?
keypad. We have to punch in a key.
At the time or at any time, were you familiar with what that passcode was?
Yes.
When you walk into the garage, how is it that you get from the garage to the house?
You walk into the garage, you go up 3 steps, and you go into a door.
And once you 3 steps into the door, what part of the house are you?
Pretty much in the kitchen.
You mentioned that Mr. O'Keefe was meticulous, if not OCD, when it came to the garage. How did that relate to how he kept the house?
The same. Everything was very tidy. When you walked in the door into the house, to the left, you put your shoes, your coats would be hung there.
As far as shoes were concerned, is that something that you wore inside the house? Or
He'd rather you not.
that was pretty well known to people that had been there before, correct? It's just up on the screen. That was what you were testifying to previously as far as moving the cars.
Correct.
Why was that again?
So Karen could pull in the garage.
So the expectation, from your understanding, is that Mr. Reed was coming back to the house at Meadows later on that evening.
Correct.
As Mr. O'Keefe from that video on the screen there was walking to the car, did you happen to notice how he was dressed?
Yes.
As far as what you observed in that video, what you recall from that evening, is that how he was dressed that evening?
Yes.
When I say how he was dressed, of course, the entirety of the time that you were with him.
Yes.
So it's January 28th. You recall, you indicated there was a snowstorm coming. It was cold out, is that correct?
Correct.
With reference to that, was Mr. O'Keefe someone that would typically wear a coat?
No.
Ever? That you can recall?
Never that I can recall.
So from that video, Mr. Camerano, what is it that you and Mr. O'Keefe are doing in that video?
Heading down to McCarthy's.
At some point after you arrived at C.F. McCarthy's, who, if anyone else, joined you?
Curt.
That'd be Curt Roberts.
Correct.
How was it that he came to C.F. McCarthy's that night?
I texted him.
In general terms, what did you call for what that text communication was like between yourself and Mr. Roberts?
Yeah, he said he was busy. He was doing something that I texted him. He was a pussy.
Following that text, Mr. Roberts eventually arrived at C.F. McCarthy's.
He showed up, yes.
About how long after you and Mr. O'Keefe arrived did Curt show up?
I would like to say maybe an hour.
And when was it that at some point you indicated Ms. Read appeared at C.F. McCarthy's as well?
Correct.
Do you know about how long after yourself and John arrived at Ms. Read?
I don't.
With reference to that establishment at C.F. McCarthy's, are you aware, or have you become aware that there was a surveillance video from inside the bar that night?
Yes.
Have you seen some of that footage, is that correct?
Yes.
What do you recognize that?
C.F. McCarthy's.
Yourself and Mr. O'Keefe are not in frame at this time, is that correct? Where was about in reference to the bar that you and Mr. O'Keefe eventually came to congregate at?
These seats here?
From this video, from your time there that night or prior occasions, can you see where the front door is to the establishment?
Yes.
Could you direct the jury's attention where that is? And so what I'm going to ask, in just a moment, Mr. Gilman, press play, and what I'd ask you to do is if you could just direct the jury's attention to when, if at all, you observe yourself Mr. O'Keefe walking.
That is me. That is John.
Thanks. Mr. Gilman, if you could just again play this through the 9 minutes. With reference Steve McCarthy, you went there and had some drinks, correct?
Yes.
Do you recall what you were drinking or what John was drinking that night?
Beer.
Is that sort of typical for the two of you?
Yes.
Do you recall, was that from the tap, a bottle, or something?
From the bottle.
Do you recall what type of beer typically you would drink or Mr. O'Keefe would drink?
Bud Light.
Do you recall specifically that's what you had that night, or that's just what you typically had?
Typically, I think we had Bud Light.
Approximately how many beers or how many drinks did you have over the course of your time at Steve McCarthy's that night?
I don't.
As far as yourself versus Mr. O'Keefe, do you recall in relation to each other how much you each had to drink?
Not maybe 6 beers.
What I'm asking, sir, is it's not like did one of you have 10 and one of you had 2, or was it sort of commensurate with each other?
Commensurate one for one.
So essentially, you're buying rounds as you go along.
Correct.
The time at Steve McCarthy's, how do you describe the tone or the demeanor within the group that you were in that night?
Pretty good.
So no arguments, no fighting, anything like that? Just
No.
Just briefly going back to the clothing that you observed Mr. O'Keefe wearing, that you recall him wearing that night. What, if any, damage or tears or anything like that did you note in any of his clothing that night?
I did not see any.
Ms. Cameron, direct your attention to the screen, if you could, parties that were within your groups that night at the bar. If you could just direct your attention to who is who or who, if anyone you recognize in the group.
Kurt.
So in addition to yourself and Mr. O'Keefe, Mr. Roberts has now joined your group.
Correct.
With reference to Mr. Roberts, Steve, you're a drinker as well?
Yes.
From a bottle that night, same sort of thing that yourself and Mr. O'Keefe were having?
Correct.
From where it's paused at this point in the video, who, if anyone else you recognize coming into frame or coming to join your group?
Karen Read.
Is this about the time that she entered the establishment or came into the bar?
Yes.
With reference to Ms. Reed, what, if anything, do you recall her drinking during your time that you were both at Steve McCarthy's that night?
She was drinking out of a glass.
What, if anything, did you observe as far as the color of what was in the glass?
It was clear.
Beyond the clear liquid in the glass, what, if anything else, did you observe in the glass as far as the straw, fruit, anything like that?
A straw, maybe.
What, if anything, did you know what was in the glass?
I didn't.
As far as you could tell what was in the glass?
Vodka?
Is that something that Ms. Reed would typically drink if you had been out with her on prior days?
Yes.
So Ms. Camerano indicated that your son was at Bruce Elementary School for a play of some sort, is that correct?
He was for a little bit.
From there, where, if anywhere else, did he go then?
He went to a friend's house to skate in his backyard.
Skate as far as just skating or what, if anything else?
He was skating. A little party.
Was he a hockey player?
Yes, he's a hockey player.
So when you say
Skating, yes. Makeshift hockey rink in somebody's backyard.
At some point with relation to that, what, if anything, sort of caused you to leave Steve McCarthy's on that night?
I received a phone call that my son was hit in the face with a hockey stick and he lost his tooth.
So upon receiving that call, where did you go?
I went to go get him.
Do you recall about what time that was that you left Steve McCarthy's to go get him?
I don't recall.
From the group that you were with, as far as yourself, Mr. O'Keefe, Ms. Reed, and Mr. Roberts, who, if anyone, left first?
I believe Curt.
Do you recall how it was that Curt left?
Curt just got up and left.
Irish goodbye?
Yeah, Irish goodbye, yes.
That's something he's known for?
Yes.
About when was that in relation to when you left?
Not too soon after.
I'm sorry, not too soon after, not too soon before?
I left after, probably, I like to say 15 minutes after Curt left.
Ms. Camerano, from you're looking at this surveillance video here, or from your memory of that night, you see Mr. O'Keefe speaking to another gentleman, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you know who that person is?
Yes.
And who is that person?
Sully?
Do you know his first name or anything?
I don't know his first name.
How is it that you know him?
Kids play baseball with his son.
So in addition to your son playing baseball with Mr. O'Keefe's nephew, Mr. Roberts, does he have a son that's around the same age?
Correct.
This individual, Sully, he has a child that plays baseball with the 3 of your kids?
Correct.
Is that someone that you had contacted to meet there, or he just happened to be?
He just happened to be there.
Ms. Camerano, do you see yourself in that portion of the video?
Yes.
And you know what you were doing at that time?
Leaving.
So prior to leaving, had you settled up a tab or something?
Yes, I picked up the tab.
Then you left to get your son,
Correct.
Camerano, you left there to pick up your son, is that correct?
Yes.
Following picking up your son, where did you go?
Back to John's house.
And why did you go back to John's house after?
My daughter was there picking her up.
You went to pick up your daughter?
Correct.
And you recall approximately what time that was?
11.
When you came back to the residence at One Meadows, you parked in the driveway again?
Correct.
Did you physically sort of go in the house to pick up?
No, I did not.
Now, as far as from the time that from the time that you left with Mr. O'Keefe to go to see McCarthy's versus the time that you came back, anything changed as far as position of Mr. O'Keefe's car?
No.
Or what, if anything, did you note as far as the garage doors were concerned, or any damage or anything like that?
Everything looked normal.
From that video, 152 that was just up on screen, sir, can you describe for the jury what was going on in that video?
I was picking up my daughter, Madeline, and my son Michael was with me. Yes, all 3 of us.
Where did you go from there?
Home.
So in the time that you were at C.F. McCarthy's, you obviously, at some point, you didn't do an Irish goodbye?
No.
At some point, you indicated to Mr. O'Keefe and or Ms. Reed that you were leaving to go pick up your son?
Yes.
And what, if any, indication did they give to you as far as where they were going, or what were their intentions for the rest of the
They were heading either across the street or to the hillside.
When you say across the street, what, if anything, was across the street?
There's another bar room.
Is that the waterfall?
Waterfall, yes.
You familiar with that establishment as well?
Yes.
And where is that in relation to C.F. McCarthy?
Across the street to the left. You were coming out of C.F. McCarthy's.
A walking distance, is that correct?
Correct.
You leave, you get your son, you pick up your daughter, Mr. O'Keefe's house, and then you go home, correct?
Correct.
When you get home, about how much longer were you up before you went to bed?
Wasn't that much longer.
When you typically go to bed, what, if anything, do you do with your phone?
Put him on the charger.
Where's the charger located in reference?
In the kitchen.
When following to the next day, about what time is it that you wake up on the 29th?
5:30, 6 a.m.
What was it that woke you up this night?
Phone's ringing.
How many phones do you have?
2.
Essentially one personal, one work, is that
Correct.
Were both phones ringing or one of them?
One phone at that time.
Was that your work or your personal?
My personal phone.
Get up, you hear that, you look at your phone, what, if anything, do you see on the screen?
I see a lot of missed calls, a bunch of missed calls from Karen, missed calls from my wife's work.
When you say missed calls, we're talking about one call, several calls,
Several calls.
any voicemails that you recall associated with those calls?
I don't recall.
So based on making that observation of the missed calls, what do you do with that?
I pick up the phone and call my wife.
What, if anything, did you learn from your wife? You call your wife, and what, if anything, is it in general that she tells you?
She tells me that John didn't come home last night.
Now, she's still at work at this point, is that correct?
Correct.
Did she indicate to you how she came to find out?
She said she's received phone calls.
From whom?
Karen?
And based on that, you have a conversation with your wife about John's niece and nephew, is that right?
Yes, my wife says to me, go get Kaylee home.
So at that time, your wife tells you that Kaylee's Meadows out by herself.
Yes.
Based on that information, what is it that you do next?
I realized that Kaylee's home alone, so I throw some clothes on, go out to the car, clean the car off real quick, and get in the car and go.
When you say clean the car off real quick,
I clean the snow off the front windshield.
again, drive over to John's house to get Kaylee?
Correct.
When you get there, you pull in the driveway as well?
Yes.
When you get to John's house, pull in the driveway, what, if anything, did you observe about the condition of the garage doors at that point?
When I pulled in, I could tell the garage door was open, left open.
Which one? The one to the right? or
To the one to the right.
Do you go inside that door?
I do.
What, if anything, did you do once you went inside?
Once I went inside, I saw Kaylee. I asked Kaylee get whatever she needed to come get in the car. While she was doing that, I started clearing some snow. I thought maybe snow hit the sensors, so that the door couldn't go down.
And so you start clearing the snow with the...
It was in the garage, yes.
After you had cleared some of the snow with the shovel, what did you do with regard to the doors at that point?
So I tried to put them down. It wouldn't go down. I asked Kaylee, I think, to re-enter the code to see if she could get the doors to go down, but the doors would not go down. The door.
At some point, did you How did you get the...
So there's a red rope. I manually pulled that, shut the door, locked the doors. There's 2 side locks on the garage door. I went out through the side garage door.
Now, when you arrived at the residence and you pulled into the driveway, do you recall how many vehicles were in the driveway when you got there?
Yes.
How many?
2.
And whose vehicle was it?
John's and
John's vehicle, where was that in relation to the last time that you saw it when you picked up your daughter?
same spot.
And as Defendant Read's vehicle, where was that in relation to the garage or in relation to the driveway?
It was pulled in on the left side, all the way in.
So in the area of the garage door that you were speaking
Correct.
about, at that time, did you look at the vehicle or touch the vehicle in any way?
No.
Let's say that your focus was on the garage door and the fact that it was open, correct?
Correct.
Why was that? Maybe self-evident, but why was your focus
Because I figured John would go crazy making one else know it was in his garage.
Now, at any point in time when you initially got the call from your wife, did you yourself reach out to John at any point?
I did not.
Did you recognize what's up on the screen again?
Yes, my car.
And is this sort of when you're pulling in to get there?
Correct.
Using the later point before you, again, if you could just direct the jury's attention to where you observed Miss Read's vehicle, is that essentially from what you observed there, that's where it was the entirety of the time?
Yes.
So nobody else came to the home during the time that you were there to pick up Kaylee and showing out the snow from the garage?
No.
What was just in those last 4 videos that were played for the jury, is that essentially the process that you were describing as far as yourself and Kaylee trying to get the garage door down?
Correct.
You leave from there, go back to your house, is that correct?
Yes.
Where sort of you and Kaylee go once you get inside?
We go into the house. We're in the kitchen in my house, in my daughter. We get my daughter up.
Your daughter then hangs out with Kaylee for a period of time?
Correct. They go downstairs and they're hanging out.
At some point in time, how does Kaylee leave your house or where does she go?
I take Kaylee home.
Why is it that you take Kaylee home? About what time is it, if you know?
I don't know what time. Paul had called me.
By Paul, who do you mean?
Paul O'Keefe, John's brother.
He informed you that John passed?
Yes.
You took Kaylee to the house on Meadows Ave to be with the family, is that correct?
Yes.
A few questions. Your wife did spend a lot of time with John O'Keefe carrying this couple, correct?
Decent amount, yes.
Would you consider John one of your best friends?
A good friend.
In fact, you were close enough that your children spent a lot of time with John O'Keefe, Karen Read as a couple, their kids, correct?
Correct.
In fact, is it true that sometimes they leave on vacation together with Mr. O'Keefe and Miss Read?
Correct.
There was a trusting relationship that you had with both Mr. O'Keefe and Miss Read to put your kids in their care.
Correct.
You mentioned wonderful news about your kids, your daughter getting into this great school.
Bishop fan, yes.
Before the acceptance, there was actually a sort of a process, like an open house that you needed to take the kids to, correct?
Yes.
You took your daughter, right?
I don't recall.
You remember being at an open house and a tour of Bishop with Karen Read, John O'Keefe, John's niece?
I do recall being in an auditorium, I do.
Yeah, big auditorium, big tour of the school.
Yes.
All kids getting in.
Yes.
Okay. To make sure it's the right fit for the kids.
Correct.
Karen was there sort of as a
She was.
matriarch for John's niece.
Yes.
Your daughter spent a lot of time just with Karen, Miss Read.
Correct.
Running errands, going to Miss Read's house, having Miss Read care for her.
Correct.
And you had no issues with that.
No.
Because you liked Karen. You
Correct.
liked Miss Read.
Correct.
It was probably, did you say once a week that you would hang out with, socialize with Miss Read?
Yes.
So you got to know them not just individually, but as a couple together, correct?
Yes.
You saw them on most Friday nights, right? You
Correct.
never saw them argue or fight.
Argue.
Matter of fact, one time you were asked about this in front of a grand jury, and you said, I wouldn't even call it bickering, they would just banter together.
I guess so, yes.
You never heard Mr. O'Keefe complain about Miss Read or vice versa?
No, I did hear him complain about like when Karen would buy like very nice things for the kids, like he wouldn't like that, stuff like that, or take the kids to get their nails done or something like that.
Maybe spoiling children.
Yes.
Certainly nothing to suggest that there was any abuse or anything like that. It was just a matter of fact.
Correct. Correct.
Mr. O'Keefe had an idea about how to raise children that was maybe a little bit more modest than Miss Read did.
Correct.
So you described earlier at another hearing, you described a situation in which Miss Read got a very expensive sweater for Mr. O'Keefe's niece.
Correct.
Mr. O'Keefe's response was, I wish he hadn't done that. That's spoiling that little girl.
Yes.
Right. You agree there are worse things in the world than spoiling a child.
Correct.
You never heard Mr. O'Keefe even hint of breaking up with Miss Read.
Not that I can recall.
We saw a video explain what was happening in the video where some cars were being jostled around. That was Mr. O'Keefe actually moving his car to facilitate Miss Read bringing her car over to his house to put it in the garage, correct?
Yes.
Kind of a chivalrous thing to do for your loved one.
Yes.
Didn't want her to be out in the snow if it was going to be a heavy snow, is that right?
Correct.
The idea was that even that weekend, he intended that Miss Read would likely be with him and family for the entirety of the weekend during that blizzard.
Correct.
So she got a nice warm place and a dry place to put her car.
Yes.
You saw a video that Mr. Lally played for you of the moment. There are several videos, but I want to direct your attention to the memory. The video of when Miss Read actually made her way into McCarthy.
Yes.
You have that scene in your mind?
Yes.
You saw in the video when Miss Read actually walked into the location how Miss Read and Mr. O'Keefe greeted each other,
Objection.
I'll allow it.
correct?
Yes.
It appeared that that was quite an affectionate greeting. Did you agree?
Objection.
Do you agree with that?
They kiss.
Would you consider it affectionate?
Yes.
They hug each other?
I don't recall.
Mr. O'Keefe put his right arm out, Miss Read sort of nestled into his embrace.
Okay.
And that's when he kissed her?
Yes.
Okay. They seemed happy to see each other.
Yes.
First of all, you were at CF McCarthy's with them. You didn't observe any arguing or bickering between the two of them?
No.
Matter of fact, they were a normal, affectionate, laughing, happy couple that you were used to seeing, correct?
Yes.
There didn't seem to be any tension between them at CF McCarthy's, is that right?
Not that I recall.
I want to just ask a couple more questions. During the span of time that you knew them to be together, would you describe their relationship as being normal, caring?
Objection.
I'll sustain that.
I want to just draw your attention to the month before Mr. O'Keefe's passing. Would you describe their relationship to be normal as far as
Yes.
on the day before Mr. O'Keefe's passing? Would you describe their interactions to be normal and caring and affectionate?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Camarano, thank you very much. You're all set, sir.